This podcast contains strong language and discussions about relationships and sex. It may not be suitable for younger listeners. This is the Sex in Singapore City podcast, and I'm Nixalina Watson. Hello, and welcome back to my podcast. How y'all doing? Happy Monday. Another start to another awesome week. And this episode, I decided to do off the base of my own little journey, which I know is a cliche, but c'est la fucking vie, which is also another cliche. I thought it might help someone, anyone, in fact, even if it helps just one person, that is fantastic. So this episode is called Am I Too Emotional? Now, this subject comes up a lot between my relationships, not just with my current partner, but my ex-partners, with my family members, with my friends. It comes up with my girlfriend's relationships. It comes up in people's DMs to me on social media. It's a very strong reoccurrent theme. So I thought let's try and address it together, I guess. And I'm going to chat firstly about, my own personal experience, and then along the way, as you're listening, perhaps you can resonate with some of it or maybe all of it, and hopefully it might help someone or everyone kind of come to terms with, am I too emotional? ? And if you are, how do you handle that? I'm not going to say stop, because you shouldn't be able to stop anything like that. It's not a case of changing who you are or stopping or holding something at bay. It's a case of accepting. I have accepted I'm a crazy bitch. And that's for my partner, because he tells me all the time I am. And if I keep saying, yeah, I know, then you got no leverage anymore, motherfucker. Okay. Let's kick off. Am I too emotional? Firstly, I think it's good to take a look at, I don't know whether you guys have heard of these phrases before, but take a look at narcissism and empaths. So what happens a lot in relationships, couple relationships, I'm not talking about family or friendships, is narcissists and empaths find each other because each one fulfills what the other one needs. So having dated a few narcissists, I kind of then started to search into empaths because I realized that that's my role. And what I am as an empath is a very highly sensitive person. So I feel a lot of things that other people feel. So for instance, let's take an example. There's a really sad advert on, it's a charity for animal welfare, and there's an animal chained up and being abused, right? That I would feel that in every step of the way. If I was watching the news and there was a case of, a child kidnapping and the parents are there crying, please for the child, I would feel what the parents are feeling, even though I don't have a child myself. I just feel everything, So I kind of spent a long time thinking, okay, well, I'm just hypersensitive, but I actually realized that the empath is a thing. It's a personality attribute, or it's not all of who I am, but it's certainly parts of who I am. And it kind of started to really explain to me how I interact with other people, how I behave and things I feel. So empaths have this tendency to absorb other people's emotions and feelings. This can be an amazing high, and it can also be a really negative low. And you feel like if you go into a room, you have like this gut instinct and you feel what people are going through. It's a really odd thing. It sounds like I'm a superwoman. And yeah, I fucking am. My superpower is feeling. That's it. That's the end of this episode. No. So yeah, empaths, we're highly intuitive. We're highly sensitive. We absorb other people's emotions and feelings and moods. And ironically, this is not ironic at all, but we get replenished by nature. And I'm like, if you go on any of my socials, I'm like, animals, nature, because it replenishes us. I didn't realize this is an empath thing until I started searching into it. And I was like, wow, I'm like every possible point is me. Empaths have a huge heart, but they give too much often, right? To give until you're saturated with other people's emotions, till you're saturated with nothing left in you to give, It's just like you've almost become the other person, so to speak, in a relationship. But this can also be in friendships as well. I mean, the whole thing is pretty exhausting, right? So being an empath, it is almost by definition, yes, I am too emotional, right? So in a lot of the relationships, I'm going to concentrate on couple relationships because #sex in Singapore City. I've always been, you're too much, you're too emotional, I can't keep up with you. Or you're either like really high or really low. And I've always been a little bit embarrassed with that. When I was early 20s, I was like, oh, what's wrong with me? And then as I kind of grew up and grew on, I realized actually it's part and parcel of my kind of creative spirit and how I am so loving. So one of my huge traits, which my current partner absolutely adores, is how loving I am. He said he's never in his whole life felt love like I give him. I think I just make really good coffee, if I'm honest, because he makes really shit coffee and we make it the same way, but it always tastes a bit shit. And I think he's confused good coffee for lots of love. Anywho. So he always says, the love you give is just, I can never match it. It's just like not too much. I adore it, but it's just an insane amount. I've never felt this way before. I've never felt this doted on. I've never felt this needed. I've never felt, you're so attentive. You're so, and I'll do stuff for him that he hasn't even asked for. Like he'll say, example, I think I need a facial. He might kill me for saying that bit. Hey, it's the 21st century male. He looks after his skin, yo. So he wants a facial. He'll just put it in passing conversation. And then I'll spend a lot of my time looking for the best place for him to get a facial for his needs. He's not asked me to. I don't feel obliged to. It's just a natural thought process. I guess I've tried to turn it off before and people have said to me, like, just care less, like put yourself first and care less and all this jazz. And I could never do it. But whilst this all sounds very lovely, it's actually not so fucking great. I went to see a therapist in March this year. This is no biggie. I mean, I don't know if you guys listened to my episode with Hanley Hofer, who is a fucking babe, by the way, and has her own podcast, just so we're clear, and they've just launched season 2, so do check it out. But Hanley and I were talking about therapy and like how we feel like everyone should have a therapist. And I said, yeah, my therapist is literally the bomb. I just don't want to be without her. And ironically, she's, I think, now leaving the country. It sucks. But I found her in March and I just wanted to, find someone not within my friendship circle, not my partner, not my family to talk to. And I really am a huge advocate for anyone in that situation with anything on your mind. Career, babies, marriage, relationships, sex, family issues, worries, health issues, whatever. A therapist is, wonderful. This should really be sponsored by a therapist. I'm just saying, if anyone wants to pay me for my blog, go for it, and my podcast. I went and found her, and long story short, we've been working together since March, and she's really, really, really unpicked this am I too emotional empath side of me. And what we kind of started to learn is that I don't have any boundaries. So within my relationship, all of them, it's like, she said, if someone says, I love you, that's it. That's all you want. I love you. You don't have any values beyond that. As long as someone loves you, you will put up with anything and you will go through, rings of fire for them because you don't have any boundaries or values beyond I want to be loved. So for me, I've grown up confusing this I'm loved, I guess, as a validation for myself, that then there's nothing else really to worry about or to think about or, to say, hey, I'm not okay with that. So my emotional needs are often not really met because I don't have any hold or values or boundaries on those emotions or what I feel I deserve or need as a partner, because I just give because I'm an empath, right? So then if I don't feel I'm appreciated, or I don't feel that I've, been looked after in the way I deserve, or I've been given back anything in the way I give, I then react in a really emotional way. So what she kind of started to make me do, and you'll see now why I'm going through this episode with everyone, is because it was right. What are your values? We really had to strip it back. To kind of hone in that emotion, I had to right, what do I value in a relationship? What do I want? Okay, do I value trust? Do I value honesty, connection? Do I value gifts? Do I value time spent together? Do I value open communication? Do I value dinners out? It could be anything. So we went through this whole process, and it was boundaries put up. Okay, my needs are not met. I need to have a communication thing with my partner. It doesn't have to always be, a conversation in person. It can be letters, it can be texts or whatever. But I need to say, hey, look, I'm not okay with this, right? So we started to realize that my empathy side was actually detrimental to myself because I just gave and fucking gave. And my partner, love him to death, is the narcissism scale. He's not a narcissist, I'm going to put that very clear, but he's on that scale and I'm on the opposite. That's why we're so connected. He obviously took because it's part of who he is. So we started to establish my own boundaries. And not only that, we also, on the next major significant breakthrough, was we established I don't have a grey area. I am black or white. You're wrong or you're right. On or off. There's no, murky grey shade. There's no, you could be wrong, but I think I'm also wrong. Or there's no need for on and off. Let's have it halfway. I am not like that. I am an extreme. And it's also, as I keep bringing it back to the main point, part of my empath background. I'm very highly sensitive. So when I'm really happy or excited, I feel it so much, It is like you want to take my Duracell batteries out because I'm annoying the fuck out of you. But then when I'm sad, oh dear God, I can cry a fucking river. Do you know how many movies, Disney movies, I've cried to? Particularly when I'm it's my time of the month. Fucking hell, Disney. Stop killing things for once. Why did Simba's dad have to snuff it? Bambi, I can't even turn that one on. And Dumbo kills me. I will not watch that again. I think the last time I watched that was when I was about 6. No fucking more. Not doing it. Oh, stop killing things, Disney. It's not funny. We're over it. Anyway, I have an extreme personality. I don't know if any of you out there can empathize with any of this with me. Are you yeah, this is literally, she's talking about me. This is how I react. This is me. 1 minute I'm super high and the next I'm super low. And does any of you relate to that? I hope that it's not just me, the sole human on the planet without a dial. So my therapist basically said, look, you kind of don't have one, so we're going to have to give you one. So what we had to do was sit down and discuss the idea of grey area, of a middle dial. What would you do if, you drew out this line, one side was on and off, one side was right and wrong, and then you're trying to work out how it would take to be in between? I was like, oh my God, this is such an alien concept, but I'm going to go with it. So the next time I'm really happy or I'm really sad or I'm angry or the next time my partner does another fucking annoying thing, then I need to sit down with the dial and go, right, this is how I want to react immediately. Am I too emotional? This is how I would emotionally act right now. This is what I want to say. This is what I'll probably do. This is what I would have done in the past. And then on the opposite end, go, okay, what could I do instead? What would be the opposite of that? So my reaction is screaming or crying or calling, and then he picks up and screams down the phone. So that's my initial reaction to what he's done wrong. I don't know what he's done. This is all hypothetical. And darling, you've done nothing wrong today, sweetheart, I promise. Tomorrow, though, you fuck. So he's done nothing wrong. But that's my hypothetical situation. And then the opposite end, okay, I don't kick off. I wait. Maybe give it an hour. Maybe give it 2 hours. Go for a walk. Do some exercise, and then come back to the dial and say, okay, what's that middle option? What perhaps have I misinterpreted what he's done? Perhaps he's done what he's done without impending any hate or harmfulness on me, but I've took it that way. Perhaps it was a mistake. Perhaps, and basically use that kind of ideology by drawing your own dial to look at the polar extremes of how you would normally react, and then look towards a middle ground. And it's really working for me, because it's made me realize, yeah, I am too emotional, but that's not a bad thing. And this, oh my God, you're so emotional, throw out comments that I'm sure a lot of us, especially all our empaths, we've heard that throughout our relationships, like it's a really bad thing. You're too much. You're too emotional. You're too sensitive. No, it's not actually a terrible thing. It's a very good thing if you can harness it in the right way. Because what this "am I too emotional" saying now means to me, and I bet when you tuned into this, you thought, oh my God, this is like how to not be emotional with men. That's not it at all. I'm saying, yeah, I am too emotional, but it means a good thing to me. It means I'm very loving. It means I'm very loyal. It means that people can come to me, and they do, with their open hearts. I mean, strangers message me their most utmost secrets. And I think, wow, this person has entrusted this to me. And I would never tell a complete stranger on the internet these kind of things. So there must be an element of who I am that allows that to happen. And yeah, okay, so I feel in extremes, but damn, at least I feel. I'd rather that than have no empathy. I'd rather that than apathy, right? Than nothing. So yeah. Am I too emotional? Yes, I fucking am. And I'm extremely proud of it as well. What I want to do, and that's what I've been working with my therapist, is realize that I don't have to react in that emotional thing, that my emotions are not who I am, just a part of who I am, and I can choose, should I so wish, to control that bit. So whenever I do react emotionally, often afterwards I say, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I shouldn't have texted that. And I have a lot of that like panic and worry and guilt and shame about any kind of interaction. To eliminate that, because that's not very good for me, it is actually better to step away from the situation and calm down, and then always try and find that grey area on the dial. Okay? Which, if you're anything like me, you don't have built in. Yeah, it's not easy, is it, kids? But what I will say for anyone who has resonated with everything I've said today's episode, one, of course, message me. But two, a therapist will work wonders. 3, Google empaths. You will see how connected you are to any of the topics, any discussions, any panel board about empaths. 4, make sure if you are and you're in a relationship, you Google empaths and narcissists just to check in. Maybe there's 2 empaths. Maybe, your partner's neutral, or maybe they are a narcissist. And that will also give you a nice grounding to take a look at how you both behave and make it better as well, because that's also always the takeaway. How do I react better? How do I make my relationship, happier, positive, like a better day for both of us? It doesn't have to be bad for you to want to keep progressing. You don't have to feel bad about yourself for you to want to keep progressing either. When I went to my therapist, I wasn't in despair. I just had some stuff I wanted to talk about. And this is what we unpacked together. This emotional thing, I didn't even go in with that conversation. That wasn't even on my mind at all. And yet I was like, wow, this is huge. So yeah, do message me. Do your research. If you're thinking of getting a therapist, go for it. Do not, under any circumstance, say, am I too emotional? Yes, I am, as a negative thing. I think it's worth embracing, because without all these emotional people, the world would be a really scary, cruel place. It's not about, dialing that down to its nothing. It's about understanding your emotional spectrum and reacting in a way that doesn't cause any damage to you or someone else or your relationships, but actually says, okay, yeah, I am too emotional, but I'm going to harness it in the right way so that everything is actually a bit better. And more to the point, I feel like it's very important for you to set boundaries for yourself, which I obviously, as I've said earlier, never had. Yeah, I'm too emotional. This will hurt me. This will hurt me. Okay, if it doesn't hurt you, that's fine, but that hurts me. Okay, that doesn't bother you. You think that's okay? That upsets me. And put boundaries down so that I can live a much more comfortable, peaceful life, so that I don't then feel in any situation where that, extreme emotional explosion comes from, be it happy or sad. With my partner, it's usually angry. Oh, I love him. Anyway, I hope I haven't waffled on too long. I hope that's kind of given you guys some food for thought. And as always, get in touch. Let me know any future episodes you want me to tackle. If you want me to do an episode on narcissism, I'm quite happy to. I think that would be a very interesting thing to discuss as well, as the opposite end of the spectrum. So yeah, just let me know. And that's it for today. Have a great week, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Sex and Singapore City podcast. This episode was produced and hosted by me, Nick Selena Watson, and recorded at the Splicecast studio in Singapore. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and all major podcast listening apps. Do subscribe for a new episode every single week. Please do give us a 5-star review. It helps other people find our podcast. We're also on social media with Facebook and the Gram. Don't be shy, send me a message and come say hello. For more information and to read more articles, please do come over and say hey at sexandsingaporecity.com. That's sex and AND singaporecity.com.